and we're going to show you again, for those of you who haven't seen, a scene from Buffalo and a scene from New York City, because this is a story all across the state. This is Buffalo, New York yesterday. I just spoke with Mr. Gugino on the phone, who is that gentleman, who thankfully is alive. But you see that video, and it disturbs your basic sense of decency and humanity. Why? Why? Why was that necessary? Where was the threat? Older gentleman, where was the threat? And then you just walk by the person while you see blood coming from his head. And police officers walk by. It's just fundamentally offensive and frightening. It's just frightening. You say, like, who are we? How did we get to this place? Incidents of pushing the press. You have incidents of police getting hit with bricks in the head. You say, where are we? Who are we? And these are undeniable situations. Buffalo situation, I want to applaud Mayor Byron Brown. Mayor of Buffalo suspended the police officers yesterday, immediately, and I believe the district attorney is looking into it from a possible criminal liability point of view, and I applaud the district attorney for moving quickly. But people see this. They see the facts. Now, when you have all this emotion, you have to focus on the facts and the intelligence of the matter, right? It can't be about emotion. Of course, police must protect the public safety, and police must protect themselves. That's a fact. Of course, there are also cases of police abuse and the abuse of power. That's a fact. You can have two coincident facts. Mr. Floyd's murder was the breaking point of a long list of deaths that were unnecessary and which were abusive. That is a fact. And people are saying enough is enough. That is a fact. What people are saying is we must change and we must stop the abuse, and that is a fact. And New York should be at the forefront of that. That has always been New York's legacy as the progressive capital. We are the ones who hold the standard of what is the right progressive reform. And New York should pass next week what we call the Say Their Name reform agenda. Say Their Name reform agenda comes from the long list of names of people who we have seen who have been abused by police officers, by the criminal justice system. And Mr. Floyd is just the last name on a very long list. Fine, enough is enough. Change the law, take the moment, reform. There are 4 cornerstones for our Say Their Name reform agenda. 1, transparency of prior disciplinary records of a police officer. If they're being charged and investigated for abuse, their prior disciplinary record is relevant. And by the way, it's relevant one way or the other. If there were no other disciplinary proceedings, that can exonerate the person who is charged. If there are prior disciplinary proceedings for this type of behavior, then yes, it is evidentiary. But people should know. Chokeholds, we went through this with Eric Garner. Again, you saw it with Mr. Floyd's death, but we learned it first with Eric Garner and many, many other cases, by the way. Why? We've seen 9/11 calls, which are race-based false calls. A false 9/11 call based on race should be classified as a hate crime in the state of New York. We know that it's wrong for the local district attorney to investigate the police force from that county. By executive order, I did the Attorney General as an independent prosecutor. That should be codified in law. I did it 5 years ago. But these are the cornerstones of a real reform agenda that can address what is going on the street. Reform works for everyone's interest here. Stopping police abuse vindicates the overwhelming majority, 99.9% of the police, who are there to do the right thing and do the right thing every day. It restores the confidence, the respect, and the trust that you need to make this relationship work. You have to heal the police-community relationship. That has to happen for the sake of the police and for the sake of the community. You look at this looting that's been going on in New York City. This hurts poor communities and distressed communities. You saw many businesses destroyed that are relied upon by that community. You can't have the relationship that works one way or the other. And even in this politically partisan, racially charged environment, there is still a truth, and there are still facts. And that's what we have to focus on. That was the truth with the coronavirus. Even though it was all political and everything was partisan and Democrat, Republican, and red and blue, it was never, they offer us false choices. COVID, coronavirus, well, do you want to save people's lives or reopen the economy? And you should reopen the economy and forget public health. Or you should take care of people's health, but not reopen the economy. It was never either or. It can't be either or. I know from a hyperbolic, rhetorical, partisan, it's one or the other. Liberate New York, worry about health, close New York. It was never one or the other. That was unintelligent. It was always both. It's the same situation here. It's not a question of public safety or civil rights. Whose side are you on, public safety or civil rights? It can't be either or. It can't be police safety or prosecutor safety. Pick a side. Which are you on? Red or blue? Democrat or Republican? Who are you with? You have to be with both. Yes, you need public safety. And yes, you need civil rights. Yes, you need police to be safe. And yes, you need the protesters to be safe. These are false choices. We need both. Even in this hysterical moment, you need to be able to hold two truths in your hands at the same time. How do we change society to make these reforms happen? How do you have a new societal awareness? Can you do that? Can you change behavior to respect one another? You're darn right you can. We know we can because we just did it through this coronavirus.